Ladies and gentlemen, Whimpering Wastes has finally come out with another reset, and this is of course going to be the reset that is going to happen at the very tail end of version 2.3 and also persist throughout most of version 2.4. And you know what that means. We're probably gonna see some buffs for Arrow when it comes to the new tokens. And so what I've already done on a viewer's account is clear all of Whimpering Wastes up until about Infinite Torrents, clearing all the previous boats, and I have to say, this one doesn't really seem that crazy at all, at least from what I've experienced in the prior boats. Let's go ahead and start ourselves off with the token overview first. So, right off of the bat, we have 3 new sets of gold tokens, but everything in the purple category and below is roughly going to be the same. It probably doesn't make that much sense for us to look at it over here. Let's just go ahead and pop ourselves into Infinite Torrents and give it a look over here. So, first things first, we're going to have the first token is going to be the sails that display Endeavor, and this token over here is going to be pretty damn powerful. Casting a Resonance Liberation amplifies resonance skill damage of the active resonator by 90% for 15 seconds. And so some units that you might have in mind if you're using this one should be pretty simple. First and foremost, Chang'Li's going to be a great user of this because her Liberation literally gives her like 4 Forte stacks, which she can use to do a nuke for, well, you imagined it, resonance skill damage. Another character that's going to be really good with this is also Jancy. Because of course, as we all know, resonance skill damage is one of Jancy's main types, and she can get off about 2 of her enhanced beam attacks with the 15-second timer. And that means that maybe you won't be building up a lot of charge, but you'll still be getting some decent damage off using her enhanced skill. A third character that's also going to be really good with this is, of course, you probably guessed it, Carlotta. With Carlotta having a lot of resonance skill damage built into her kit, a lot of casts of her E, and of course, every single one of her shots, all 5 of them, dealing resonance skill damage when she activates her Resonance Liberation. So I would say if this is the token that you want to use, that amplification to resonance skill damage for 15 seconds, these are going to be some of your top picks to get it done. I wouldn't really recommend anybody else in this sort of circumstance because, you know, you're just going to get better results regardless using some other tokens. Next up, we have this gold token over here, the Stigma that signifies Vainglory. Quite a long name. And the effect here is very simple though, despite the long name. And that is, when resonators are in midair, their damage dealt is amplified by 80%. Pretty damn good. An amplification to every single damage type possible. And if you're thinking about characters that can use it, well, of course, you got Brant, who's in midair for pretty much his entire attack chain. You've also got Cantarella, who can just jump into the air to do her midair Mirage attacks and then also gain this buff as well. And of course, a pretty obvious one for a lot of people, Camellia. Because you just enter Blossom mode and you will qualify as being in the air. I think you might have to jump and then enter Blossom mode to be able to make sure that you're actually getting the buff, but Camellia is one of the premier mid-air units. You can also think about using Jancy or Chang'Li as well, because those are both characters that can do a lot of their combos and do a lot of their attacks in the air, but I think Jancy's probably like the better pick out of the two, if that's something that you're going to do. So, with that in mind, those are going to be some of the top picks for those 2 gold tokens. And now we've got a third one over here that I think is going to be pretty on the nose with what it's going to do. When a Resonator inflicts arrow erosion upon enemies, the active Resonator in the team grants a 40%... The active Resonator in the team gains a 40% arrow damage bonus for 15 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. And essentially what this totals up to is a 120% arrow damage bonus to the active Resonator on the team after you inflict arrow erosion 3 times. And it's pretty much designed, right, for a character. We're just going to start replacing it like Chacona. However, there are very few characters in the game that can actually benefit from its buff. You have Chacona herself, then you also have Jian on her team, and then a combination of Arrow Rover, who doesn't really deal damage, Jian Xin, who doesn't really deal damage, and Yang Yang, who's better as a sub DPS and doesn't really deal damage. You also got Alto, who's absolutely dog shit in this game mode because all of his attacks are single target. We got him right here at the bottom. Who cares if my camera's covering him? It doesn't really matter. I would say the only real team that feels like it's going to function slightly well is going to be this combo over here, at least until the release of Kartithia. And so you kind of might as well, unless you're going to plan on running this team, you kind of might as well pretend this token doesn't exist until Kartithia releases. That would be how I'd view it at this moment in time. I don't even think this token is that good in the Gion team. We'll do a couple of test runs to see how it works. Probably one team where we try it out with Mortifi, and don't even use this token, and another team where we try it out with Chacona and do end up using this token. And we'll draw some comparisons between the two and see how they work. When it comes to infinite torrents on this reset, before we dive into any of the actual teams itself, do keep in mind that the environment report is actually going to be very player friendly, where damage taken by enemies is just going to be increased by 50%, which is a lot different than some of the prior buffs we've had before, where it would read something like critical damage taken by enemies is increased by 60%, where the buff would be a little bit stronger, but it would only work on crits. And so this time, you got a flat 50% increase without the need to crit. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is something that a lot of players who might not have invested, too much into getting crazy crit stats on their characters, they're going to find that a lot more helpful. And the thing is, when none of these tokens actually give crit rate, that's another thing that just makes higher scores, all of that, a lot more accessible to players. So overall, I gotta say, huge W to Kuro Games for the design of this iteration of Infinite Torrents. I just hope they have a buff like this that stays consistent and just like this moving forward. Now, let's go ahead and move on into some of the trial practice runs. I actually want to give both of these other tokens a bit of a try. First, starting off with the stigma that, the mid-air one, I'm not even going to try pronouncing the name. And the team that we're going to be using over here is going to be Chang Li, along with Verena, and then we're going to have Brant. Gion, get out. We're going to have Brant over here. And then on this side, we're going to be trying the Resonance Liberation Amplify skill damage, and we're actually going to be running a popular dual DPS combo that I actually like quite a bit, and that's going to be Jancy, Shorekeeper, and Carlotta. And a lot of people are going to have these units.
Understood.
A lot of people are going to be having these units. Let me just make sure everyone's on the right stuff. And we'll show a bit of a preview of what the equipment is looking like. So yeah, pretty decent investment across this second team. And then with this first team over here, we're going to have Chang Li on Blazing Brilliance, Verena on a lot of ER, and then Brant actually on Unflickering Valor. And a pretty decent set of investments over here. So yeah, let's go ahead, let's give these teams a try, and see what scores we can get just on the first run ever.
In flames. Take full.
Blue.
Together we vanquish. Together we vanquish.
Okay, that's a little bit annoying.
Feathers incinerate.
Listen carefully.
There we go. Okay, we're getting some decent rotations going over here right now. Dealing with some Rostrum damage. And yeah, that mid-air damage being amplified is kind of nuts.
Beckon the divine flames. Sever. My
Epic shot.
together we
Factor.
vanquish.
Different role.
Together we vanquish.
Brad salutes you.
Who's the
And I guess if you cast your Chang Li Liberation in the air, that's where you'll get the amplification from. Because do keep in mind, these are both abilities that you can actually cast on the ground. I guess you just want to make sure that you're in the air first. Because I had one Chang Li Liberation that was actually dealing a lot more damage than the other one. It was enough to just completely wipe the wave by itself. Oh, dear lordy.
Same actor, different role.
Luminous energy. Listen up. The fruit of evolution.
Together we vanquish.
So I'll even like jump up and then do this. And I feel like you guys can see
Climax of the
that one did
show!
quite a bit of damage. Oh, we killed them so fast, they lagged.
Together we vanquish.
Yeah, we lagged a little bit there. Overall, for our first try, definitely a lot of room to optimize the gameplay. 3.4K is pretty solid. Now let's give it another try at the bottom side with our Jancy team.
Fast in starlight.
We're gonna get our free intro skill out.
Evil be cleansed. My compliments. Diminish. Stay calm. In war with time.
Here we go.
My compliments. Glory demands more. Can you keep up? In the name of the Montellis. Strike is one. Heaven ordained. Banish all
And get some of that resonant skill damage boost.
Take forth sacred light.
That much damage for a half-charged one is insane. Yeah, that much damage on a half-charged Jinxie thing is insane.
Together we fight. Thus it ends. Take my compliments, for you will yield. Victory favors me. Quickly and swiftly. Masterpiece.
Holy
complete.
moly.
Take this. Strike is one. Thunder guide us. Sacred
How much
light.
damage is this one gonna do?
My
Already
compliments.
enough to basically
Still
one-shot
recognize
them?
me? Worry not.
Hey,
Loading. Astral modulation.
not bad. I definitely feel like I could be
Together
playing
we
this team
fight.
better, though.
Take forth. Running won't save you. Evil be cleansed. My compliments. The stage is set. Glory demands more. Can you keep up? Found your weak spot. Still recognize me?
All right,
A new era
let's see it.
awaits. Still recognize at your disposal. Diminish. Heaven ordained. Banish all vice. Take forth.
Honestly, not bad for a first try. Not bad for a first try. It has been quite a while since we played this team, and we just get an easy 6.1K. Why don't we go ahead and try out some different teams? One team in particular that I actually do want to take a look at is the Camellia one. Kind of just knowing and keeping in mind, right, that Camellia can get some of that mid-air damage bonus. And so, let me just see what a Rosia team might be looking like
you like?
over here. All right, we got a Stonard. All right, I think this Rosia should be fine. And we'll give that one the mid-air bonus as well. But on this side, we're going to be running a Chacona Gian team. And hopefully, this team can perform somewhat adequately. Because one thing that would be a little bit unfortunate,
The
guys,
battlefield is
is
dynamic. Do
this
not let
team
your
not
guard down.
being that great, and then you basically having to wait until Cartithia releases for this team to not, you know, kind of like feel like shit. So that's what the bonuses are looking like over here. Let's give it a bit of a spin and see how we do.
Loading. Aerial stunt. Bloom from ashen shell. Entwine. Let's have fun.
Oh, that's a little bit rough.
Leave it to me. Okay. Loading war with time.
Kind of a scuffed rotation, but it is what it is.
Tornado nuclear. Mamma mia, avanti. Improv performance. I will sprout of budding seeds. Feed my blossoms, self-deceivers. Let's have fun.
You can just use Nightmare Crownless as well to kind of like get yourself up off the ground.
Let's have fun.
That's actually quite, that's great if you do have Nightmare Crownless available, but do keep in mind, you might run into some stamina management issues like I just did over there. But holy shit, we are kind of shredding.
Let's have fun. Oath from the heart. Perish. Loaded. Iron graft you knew. Aerial stunt. Mamma mia, avanti. The world is our stage. I wanna reborn from the age. Don't run. Keep the dance going.
Kind of crazy.
Let's have fun. Sprout. Crimson blossom.
She is straight up deleting everything. The only issue you might have is some of the enemies not spawning immediately so that you can rip them to shreds. Holy moly.
Ordained.
Yeah. And you can kind of see, even with me like screwing up a bit in the run, the scores are pretty wild. Yeah, she's pretty strong here, boys. Almost insane. Almost too strong with that midair one. Now let's see what the arrow damage one is looking like over here.
Bask in the sunlight. The fruit of evolution. Thanks for watching. Ta-da! A grand overture.
Listen, the trio of destiny.
You're wide open. Tell truth from facade. Fear no more. Finale.
Thanks for watching. Ta-da! A grand overture. Solo blow.
Okay, that was, she generates a lot more concerto than I thought, brother.
Ready for battle. Unstoppable.
Yeah, she generated concerto almost too fast there.
Tell truth
Leave it to me.
from facade.
Listen up. The fruit of evolution. Mommy.
Thanks for watching. Perfect. Now presenting a poem of finale.
You're wide open. Fear no more. 7.
And do realize this Gion is on Age of Harvest and not his signature.
Tell truth from facade.
Thanks for watching. Ta-da!
Bask in the sunlight.
Not his signature.
The fruit of
Thanks for watching. A perfect chord. Let the show begin.
Ready for battle. Unstoppable. Break. Tell truth from facade.
Thanks for watching.
And I think the unfortunate part about this is that I feel like you get similar results in a team with Mortefi. And so the thing is, right now, that's probably the best overall team that you can do with Chikona. And you can see the results are actually quite strong. I can probably get like maybe 3.5, maybe 4K if I have some crispier rotations. But the fact of the matter is, guys, well, I think you'll get the same exact sort of results with a Mortefi on your team using one of the other bonuses. And so at this point, it's kind of just like, it might be okay, it might be strong. But overall, you get similar results, if not better, with Mortefi on the team. I would more so wait until we have Kartithia in the game, being able to leverage more of this arrow damage bonus because, you know, I feel like Gian already has a very, very good partner in Mortefi. And then maybe see from there what the whole situation is looking like. You could also potentially think about, if you plan on running this team, a lineup that includes something like a Chikona, Mortefi, Gian. But that's just getting a little bit ridiculous over here. But it might be something you can actually do in Whimpering Wastes. What if we just give this one a try and see if this one is everything people are advertising it as? Unfortunately, though, we're not going to have 2 static mists to give it a look. So let's just go forward from here.
In the line.
Why are we in the ZZZ category? I need to show ZZZ players what an actual good game looks like. Because they're definitely not getting that in 2.0. Showcasing the worst part of WhiWa is not a good idea. The worst part of WhiWa is better than the best part of ZZZ, brother. If anything, right? We're doing ZZZ a favor over here by having WhiWa on the screen. Now that we are back, it's time for us to take a look at the Chikona Mortefi Gian team. And boy, oh boy, is this one going to be a little bit crazy.
Leave me alone.
A perfect chord. Listen, the trio
All right.
of destiny.
Fury boils, as you wish. Silence.
And we just got Mortefi over here getting ready to go.
Let's do your wide open. It's another. Fear no more.
I know we're not using our monkey, but it is what it is.
Tell truth from facade.
Thanks for watching. Overture. Now presenting.
Holy moly, the damage is kind of nuts.
Fury boils. Inferno. Burn to ashes. Let's do ready for battle. Unstoppable. Way.
We're hitting like 18k. We're hitting 18k with Jinxi's weapon, boys.
For watching. The pitch is lowered. Mind the... Let the show begin.
Fury boils. Burn. As you wish. Feel my wrath. Let's you're wide open. This fear no more. Another way. Tell truth from facade. Break.
Oh, we're just like getting our intro skills canceled as well.
Listen, the trio of destiny.
Fury boils. Burn. Burn to ashes. Let's do ready for battle. Unstoppable.
Maybe I just need some time working on the rotations. Maybe they feel a little bit slower. Maybe the rotations could definitely be a little bit more crisp and faster. But the damage is definitely there if you're going to run this team. But our scores aren't as good as they were before. So, yeah, definitely some experimentation you could probably do with this one. But I would just say, I feel like you're just going to get some more simple results doing something else. Yeah, you probably, like, Verena Chikona is probably just going to be more reliable because, I mean, you got healing and stuff in case you get hit. But yeah, that's our demos of it. As we all kind of saw, Kartithia is probably going to be when you want to use that. And you got plenty of other powerful options with all of these other tokens in here. But all right, let me know what you all think. I think that this Whimpering Waste is great. It's one of the best ones yet. But unfortunately, we're not going to be able to see the full potential of its arrow buff.